Update bringing up getting a vasectomy to my girlfriend. So I, M34, had the talk with my girlfriend, F29, about having decided to get a vasectomy. She's not taking it well. She feels like it is unfair and selfish of me to get one, and wants me to wait for a few years to keep the option open, so we can decide together instead of me getting one now. I told her that I'm not about to change my mind, as I already have 2 kids that I only see 3 days a week, and I'm not wanting to split that parenting time 3 ways by adding another child. The only thing I can think is that if I don't get one now, she's going to either try really and persuade me, or we'll end up having an accidental pregnancy within the next few years. I know I don't want more kids, so I want to get it done with. Is this selfish of me? She says I'm taking away her choice in the matter, but I feel like giving in to her would be giving up my choice in the matter. As a concession, she said if I do get one, then she wants to get married within the next year, because that would make her happy. I've told her I'm not ready for marriage yet, as we haven't even been dating a year and we both just got divorced prior to that. She says relationships are about compromise, so it is unreasonable for me to say no to both things she wants. I really do love her, but I feel pretty certain about my decision. Any opinions or suggestions? Dr. I, M34, told my girlfriend, F29, that I've decided I'm going to get the vasectomy. She's recently changed her mind and wants to be open to the idea of kids, but I am definitely not, as I already have 2 older kids and do not want to start over again. She didn't take it well. Am I being selfish, or is this reasonable for me to stand my ground on? Yep, wanting children is one of a handful of topics that are straight-up deal-breakers for relationships. It's selfish for Op to not want more kids, just like it's selfish for girlfriend to insist on kids. And getting married as a compromise will just lead to a later compromise of just 1 kid. Or maybe 2. Or whatever it is. But the truth is they are not currently compatible, and that's okay. This is all that needs saying. Up, on the fundamentals, you have to be aligned. Not to say people can't change their minds over time to become more or less aligned, but it's a very bad sign to the longevity of your relationship that this early on you simply don't agree on the fundamentals. Believe me, I've been there. I ended a 5-year relationship because he didn't want kids and I did. Best decision I ever made. Second, this, I hate to break it, but your 2 are incompatible. She is in the wrong for thinking that she can persuade you out of making your own reproductive choices. I know this might suck to hear up, but this is a woman that sees children as a part of her life. If that's something that you guys disagree on, then break it off because you guys are not compatible. Not wanting kids is a no-fault deal breaker. What that means is that if it's actually important to both parties, then it will inevitably end the relationship. Neither one of you is wrong to deeply want what you want, but you're fundamentally at odds. Wanting to get married, not wanting to get married is also a no-fault deal breaker. This relationship is on borrowed time. I think it's time to decide if you want to end on good terms now. We want different things for the future, and because I love you, I want you to have them, or on bad terms later. You trapped me. Well, you never wanted to have kids or marry me. Fair warning, just because it's no fault doesn't mean that one person can't be the bad guy. If you don't break up in the near term, the bad guy's going to be you. I know I don't want more kids, so I want to get it done with. Is this selfish of me? The line between selfish and self-determining is real blurry. You're putting your own needs above the relationship. But I don't see how you have any choice in that if you're going to retain your autonomy. This is it. Neither of you are the bad guy for having your hard wants in a relationship, but one of you can easily turn into the bad guy if you allow your hard wants to impact the way you relate to and treat one another. I will add, from what you wrote, it sounds like your GF is towing the line of manipulation. Y'all can compromise on which restaurant to eat at or who does what chores, but raising a person and getting married? Nah, those are not choices you should compromise for. Those are life-changing choices you should both go into wholeheartedly together, and if you can't, then you're doomed from the start. She either gets that, or you likely will have to leave. This is a major incompatibility, and I honestly think both of you need to entertain the idea of splitting up, because this is a really big fucking deal. You already have kids and you don't want more. That's it. That's all there is to this. There is no negotiating this. If she wants children, she needs to break up with you and go find someone to have kids with while she still has time. You cannot compromise on having children or not. It's one of those things you cannot compromise in a relationship, like deciding where to live, or having an open, closed marriage. These are things that you need to find someone who you are compatible with. It's probably best you two split up and find someone who wants the same thing when it comes to children. You are spot on with the idea that you will end up divorced if you rush into this marriage. This X1000, you can be as in love as possible with a person, but if you don't match on things such as having a kid or having no kids at all, there's no way it's gonna work. One of you will suffer regardless, and that's not fair to the life you've envisioned for yourselves. It's tough, but cut your losses and find someone that suits your lifestyle better. Came here to comment this: women should have a right to choose if they want to have or keep a baby, and men should also have the right to choose if they want to get sterilized. Ops GF has zero say in whether he gets a vasectomy, or we can decide later. Together argument is BS. She doesn't get to decide what he does with his body. What she does get to decide is if she wants to be in a relationship with someone who already has children but cannot have more. She 100% gets to decide if she wants to be in the relationship based on those circumstances. Who is the everyone that allows women to make choices over their own bodies? In the U.S., laws are being enacted to take away their choice by making abortions after a certain date murder. Women are fighting to keep their choice, and you're throwing around everyone as if people high-five women outside of Planned Parenthood while waving your body, your choice signs. She said if I do get one, then she wants to get married within the next year, because that would make her happy. I've told her I'm not ready for marriage yet, as we haven't even been dating a year and we both just got divorced prior to that. She says relationships are about compromise, so it is unreasonable for me to say no to both things she wants. That's not how things work. She does not get to make demands like this of you. Just because she wants something does not mean it is reasonable to request it, and she clearly does not understand how compromising works. Her behavior is red flag territory for sure. It sounds like she is used to getting what she wants, so be careful. That kind of if you get this. I get that logic is the stuff I expect from my 6-year-old trying to compromise with their sibling. In my marriage, my husband and I both concede things at times, and sometimes you kind of call that in a bit at a later date. But it's more about things that don't matter as strongly, like, he really wants that drug, I don't care so much, but then if I have stronger feelings about a certain couch or so, I may kind of call that in. Or, you concede over who gets to pick the restaurant and the other chooses the movie. You don't do that about actual marriage and kids. Hi, just your friendly neighborhood feminist chiming in to remind you that you have bodily autonomy, and that if the exercise of flipping the pronouns isn't good, then it isn't acceptable behavior. Your feelings here are super duper valid, and just like how men, even a husband, don't have rights to a woman partner's eggs, she doesn't have any right to your sperm. She may be grieving her imagined future with you, so while it is certainly okay to give her grace and space, time to process and apologize to you for being reproductively coercive, this really just seems like an issue where kindness, love and even agreement on just about everything else won't erase the conflict. Seems to me like honestly the best outcome of this is that you two find a way to amicably split. There really just are basic values that if two people aren't in lockstep on, no matter how good everything else is, the relationship is going to fail. Better to be kind to both of yourselves and end things before things get ugly. Resentment builds to damaging levels and you each spend more time with the wrong partner. All that said, this sucks and I am sorry you are going through this. This is the best response here. She is absolutely entitled to be upset at the situation, but Op's reproductive health is 100% entirely up for him to decide. Op's girlfriend has to now make a decision. Do I want to still be with someone that is getting a vasectomy and won't have more kids, even if I really want my own? I think the most obvious answer here is that these two are no longer compatible, as they have completely different goals for the next several years of their lives. It would be best to amicably split now, rather than make a decision that will almost certainly create love-killing resentment in the relationship, no matter which decision Op ends up making. I don't love the way Op's GF is approaching this, but I don't think she's necessarily a bad person. No one is the bad guy here, except that weird guilt thing about getting married immediately as a compromise. That's a red flag. Being incompatible and splitting isn't a reflection on the character or value of the people breaking up. It simply shows that being a couple isn't possible for either of them any longer because they don't want the same thing. That's it. Agreed. My concern here would be, when both parties entered the relationship, had they discussed the potential of wanting more children, or has Up always flat out said he doesn't want any more? I can understand the grieving if she always wanted that, but then they were incompatible from the very beginning. Sure, people change their minds. And if he is now a firm no on having children, she needs to grieve with that, and decide if she can come to terms in accepting a future without any potential children, or leave the relationship if it's a deal breaker. So it's unreasonable for me to say no to both things she wants. Well, this is the worst logic I've heard in a while. I want a new car and a new house. What? You can't say no to both? Why don't we compromise on just a new car for me? Others have already said, it's probably time to break up. You can't compromise on absolutes like having kids, and she's going to resent you if you stay together and sees you as keeping having kids from her. You'll resent her if you feel pressured into marrying her too. When it comes to decades to lifelong commitments like kids, be as completely selfish as you can be, because that's a hell of a long time to do something you don't want to do. Get the vasectomy. Dude, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but this entire post is just one big red flag. As a concession, she said if I do get one, then she wants to get married within the next year, because that would make her happy. I just need to tell you that from an outside perspective, that statement is so fucking wild, man. It took me a couple of rereads to really process it and fully wrap my mind around it. Repeat this with me. Marriage is not a bargaining chip. Marriage is not a bargaining chip. Marriage is not a bargaining chip. She says relationships are about compromise, so it is unreasonable for me to say no to both things she wants. Buddy, you've got a few years on me, so you don't need me to preach to you. But you need to take the clues that people give you about who they are at their core. Somebody who can whip out that compromise line on you without flinching. That's something to really pay attention to, man. Let's just call a spade a spade. That logic is just fucking bananas. Your girlfriend is basically demanding that you either give her a baby, and if you don't decide to compromise on this enormous, life-changing decision, then you make it up to her by making a different, enormous life-changing decision. Yeah, seems reasonable. Not only is she expressing to you that she really wants these things, but she's trying to convince you that she's actually being very reasonable, and if you don't give her what she wants, it's because you don't want to compromise and you are being unreasonable. So she either believes what she's saying, which is one type of concerning, or she doesn't believe it, but she's trying to pressure, guilt you into getting what she wants, and that's a different type of concerning. I'm not telling you to leave or anything, but you need to take a couple of steps back here and make sure that you're looking out for yourself here. Take the clues that people give you. You're not being unfair. Getting married before you're ready is not reasonable compromise in any way. Also, it has nothing to do with the subject at hand, your desire to not have more kids. You don't owe her concessions for making choices about your own body. If having no babies is a deal breaker for her, she's free to go date someone else who wants babies. But she's not free to take over your other major life choices instead out of some misguided sense of fairness. She's got weird ideas. This is a major compatibility problem that you should think about seriously. Also, it has nothing to do with the subject at hand, your desire to not have more kids. Exactly. Like, it would make sense if she said something like I want to be a mom. Stepmom counts, Do you see me being a stepmom to your kids? Do you think we would have to get married for me to have that? But instead of talking about what she wants and how it could fit in their relationship, she's trying to negotiate for something else. Get the vasectomy. Never compromise on children in a relationship. That means if you don't want them, you need a partner that also doesn't want them. Likewise, if you do want them, you need a partner that also wants them. You two are not compatible. Break up now or dig in deeper and suffer more later because it's not going to work. This is coming from a woman. I've seen enough cases where the accidental pregnancy isn't really accidental, and was premeditated by someone like your girlfriend who wanted a baby while their partner didn't. Please get your vasectomy, and if you decide to stay with her, preferably abstain from any sexual contact with this woman until you get the snip. So she wants the vasectomy to be choice you two make together. Yeah, a number. If she were to get pregnant tomorrow, your opinion wouldn't matter when she decides she wants to go through the pregnancy. Yes, relationships are about compromises, but this isn't it. Honestly, I'd be looking to see if this relationship is what you really want for your future. Just break up. You do not want more kids. She does. You do not want to get married. She does. Why are you even together? This is stuff you discuss early in the dating process so you do not waste each other's time. It may sound harsh, but it's better to break up now than to resent each other because your wishes do not align. Be selfish about not wanting a child, because giving and getting a child you don't want is not an option. Tell her to be selfish too about wanting a child, but to understand that requires her to break off the relationship and look for a more suitable partner. Ask her to think long and hard about whether she wants to be with you, as you do not want children and you aren't going to entertain a maybe. Greater than she deserves to be told this bluntly and clearly, and she should also hear from your own lips that she needs to take this seriously enough so that she doesn't end up choosing to stay with you, only to resent you later. You're not taking away her choice in the matter. You were completely upfront that you didn't want more kids. Instead of respecting your choice and honesty, she seems to be taking it as a challenge to figure out how she can change your mind, or force the issue. There are red flags all over this. You deserve better, and I'm sorry you're dealing with this. The person I'm with now was in a relationship with a woman who didn't want kids, ever. He did. They could not come to an agreement on this, so he broke up with her. She cried and begged for him back, and even though she still didn't want kids, she agreed to one with the ultimatum that they would get married. He says it was the biggest mistake he's ever made. He loves his son more than anything, but they are divorced now and he has to share custody with a woman who didn't even want a child to being with. She hates his guts and co-parenting is a nightmare. Do not marry this woman, and for the love of God, do not give her a chance to get pregnant. The decision to have a child is either 2 yes votes or the final answer is a big fat number. No child deserves a part-time parent that resents them, or wishes they had more free time and fewer kids. I know people with parents like that. Deciding to bring a child into this world without fully embracing it is deciding to punish them before they are even here. You're not taking away her options. Relationships are about compromise, but parenthood is about sacrifice. Quite frankly, if you don't make sacrifices for your kids, you're probably a shit parent. This isn't a new car that you can be talked into buying. This is adding another human life's worth of responsibility that might be hanging around you until you leave this world. Everyone is allowed deal breakers, and this is the most reasonable kind. You don't want another child, so until that changes, the answer is number. She feels like it is unfair and selfish of me to get one, and wants me to wait for a few years to keep the option open, so we can decide together instead of me getting one now. She says I'm taking away her choice in the matter, but I feel like giving in to her would be giving up my choice in the matter. I think you need to give her back her choice by ending things. Tell her you love her and you do want her to get a choice about if she wants children. That it's clear from how she has reacted and the comments she's been making before you told her that she is at least seriously considering children. You don't want her to give up on having kids for you. You don't want her to resent you or lose out on such an important part of life that she seems to want. So you think you should separate, so she can find a guy who wants what she does and she can have the life she wants and deserves. This relationship is not going good places with you guys having different views on such a major deal breaker. Sure, you can get a vasectomy and get your way, but do you want to date someone who is unhappy they can't have kids, be accused of being with you, and always have the sacrifice of her giving up kids to be with you hanging over your relationship?